Madhava Kunjaviha Jaya Gopi Jana Vala Varada Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vala Varada Hari Yashoda Nandana Raja Janara Yashoda Nandana Raja Janara Yamuna Tira Pavana Chaha Yamuna Tira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Gunjavi Jaya Radha Madhava Gunjavi Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janava Sabha Girivaradari Yanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Pavanachapar Yamunatira Panachapari Jaya Radha Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivaradara Hari Jaya Gopi Janava Sabha Girivaradara Hari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Yamuna Tira Manasa Yamuna Tira Panata Hidaya Radha Madhava Kunjali Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivarada Jaya Gopi Janavala Girivarada Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Jana Jamuna Tira Pavana Jamuna Tira Panachapa Hidaya Pavana Pavana Kunjabi Jaya Radha Kunjabi Jaya Gopti Janavala Vivarata Jaya Gopti Janavala Girivarata Yashoda Dandana Brajadana Dandana Yashoda Dandana Prajajana Dharana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Panachara Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupada, Paramsa Parijakaya, Shota Shata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada, Paramsa Parijakacharya, Shota Shata Shri Srimad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Govinda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavata, Text 22. Manurapi Paranevam Prati Sandita Manorata Surasi Paranumatinam Atmajam Akila Dara Mandala Stiti Guptaya Astapya Svayam Ati Vishama Vishaya Visha Jalashayashya Uparam Ravarama Manurapi Paranevam Prati Sandita Manorata Surashi Paranumatinatmajam Akila Dara Mandala Stiti Guptaya Astapya Swayamati Vishama Vishaya Visha Jalashayashaya Upararama Manurapi Parinevam Parti Sandita Manorata Surashi Varanumatin Atmajam Akila Garamandala Stiti Guptaya Astapya Swayamati Vishama Vishaya Visha Jalashaya Shaya Upararama Manu Syambhuva Manu Api also Parena by Lord Brahma Evam thus Prati Sandita executed Manarata his mental aspiration Sura Rishi Vara of the great sage Narada Anu Matena by the permission Atmajam his son Akila of the entire universe Dara Mandala of planets Stiti maintenance Guptaye for the protection Astapya establishing Svayam personally Ati Vishama very dangerous Vishaya material affairs Visha of poison Jala Ashaya ocean Ashyaya from desires Upararama got relief. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Swayambhuva Manu, with the assistance of Lord Brahma, thus fulfilled his desires. With the permission of the great sage Narada, he delivered to his son the governmental responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planets of the universe. He thus achieved relief from the most dangerous, poisonous ocean of material desires. Purport. Swayambhuva Manu was practically hopeless because such a great personality as Narada was instructing his son Priyavata not to accept household life. Now he was very pleased that Lord Brahma had interfered by inducing his son to accept the responsibility for ruling the government of the universe. From Bhagavad Gita, we get information that Vayasvatamanu was the son of the sun god, and that his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku, ruled this planet Earth. Swayambhuva Manu, however, appeared to have been in charge of the entire universe, and he entrusted his son, Maharaj Priyavata, the responsibility for maintaining and protecting all the planetary systems. Dharamandala means planet. This Earth, for instance, is called Dharamandala. Akila, however, means all or universal. It is therefore difficult to understand where Maharaj Priyavata was situated. But from this literature, his position certainly appears greater than that of Vayasvata Manu, for he was entrusted with all the planetary systems of the entire universe. Another significant statement is that Swayambhuva Manu took great satisfaction from abnegating the responsibility for ruling all of the planetary systems of the universe. At present, politicians are very eager to take charge of the government, and they engage their men in canvassing door to door to get votes to win the post of president or a similarly exalted office. On the contrary, however, herein we find that Maharaj Priyavata had to be persuaded by Lord Brahma to accept the post of emperor of the entire universe. Similarly, his father, Swayambhuva Manu, felt relieved to entrust the universal government to Priyavata. Thus, it is evident that the kings and executive heads of government in the Vedic age never accepted their position for sense enjoyment. So, such exalted kings, who were known as Rajrishis, ruled only to maintain and protect the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. The history of Priyavata and Swayambhuva Manu describes how exemplary, responsible monarchs perform the duties of government with disinterest, keeping themselves always aloof from the contamination of material attachment. Material affairs have herein been compared to an ocean of poison, that have been described in a similar way by Srila Narottam Das Thakur in one of his songs, Samsara Vishanale Diva Nishya Jvale, Vrudati Na Kainu Upaya. My heart is always burning in the fire of material existence, and I have made no provisions for getting out of hand. Goloka Pramadan Harinam Sankirtan, Hatina Janmila Kenataya. The only remedy is Harinam Sankirtan, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which is imported from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this. Manu wanted to seek shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore, when his son Priyavata took charge of the worldly affairs, Manu was very relieved. That is the system of Vedic civilization. At the end of life, one must free himself from worldly affairs and completely engage in the service of the Lord. The word Surashi Vara Anumatena is also significant. Manu entrusted the government to his son with the permission of the great sage Narada. This is particularly mentioned because although Narada wanted Priyavata to become free from all material affairs, when Priyavata took charge of the universe by the request of Lord Brahma and Manu, Narada was also very pleased. Om Agena Taramandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshmulitamyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are reaching the conclusion of or we're discussing the conclusion of the talks between Narada, Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavatu, and of course Lord Brahma, where Swayambhuva Manu has been convinced, persuaded to take up the responsibility of managing the various planetary systems, which he was reluctant to do before. And now Swayambhuva Manu is wanting to retire, basically, to hand over the responsibilities for managing the universal affairs to his son, now that his son has been convinced of the need, and for he himself to take up the process of bhakti yoga and to overcome the ocean of the material energy. And Prabhupada brings up in the purport several wonderful or surprising things. The first, of course, is that the discussion was that Swayambhuva Manu and then his son Priyavata ruled over the entire universe all of the planetary systems was or were under the rule of Maharaj Priyavata. Uh, and this is very wonderful and very contrary to the worldview that is predominating nowadays. Uh, and of course, in the current worldview, in the history of the world as it is commonly understood and taught in schools, you can barely get anybody to, you can barely get one nation, country, empire that rules over the a good portion of the world, uh, much less the entire world. Uh, in the accepted history, it is considered uh, impossible that one person could rule over the entire world. Uh, Even the Roman Empire eventually got too big, it took over Europe basically, and then a little bit of Asia and Africa. But even then, they eventually said we need two emperors because uh, one person cannot rule over all of this. Which of course ended as most people would expect, where now instead of one Roman Empire, there were two Roman empires. But uh, yes, this is considered very contrary to the accepted worldview that somebody could rule the entire planet, let alone multiple planets or the entire universe. Uh, because the current worldview is based on impersonalism. It does not have personality or consciousness at the center as the Vedic worldview does. At the center of the uh, current mainstream worldview, at least metaphysically, the central focus, the central principles are the laws of physics, uh, whatever those happen to be at the moment. There's always refining, uh, changing, new discoveries. Of course, there always will be because those living entities who have the desire to mentally speculate will always exist, and they need somewhere to go. So there will, as long as one uh, relies on the two inferior processes of epistemology, um, Pratyaksha and Anuman, or empiricism and rationalism, one could say, there will always be disagreements, discussion, changes, uh, because it is mental speculation until one accepts the mode of epistemology based on consciousness, that is Shabda Praman, hearing from a authorized person the actual facts of life, the actual facts of the universe, and accepting that knowledge. Because in the Vedic worldview, everything is based on consciousness. The metaphysics, the epistemology, the social system, everything is based on conscious individuals. And uh, we see, even in the, as cosmology or the discussion of origins, the origins are very different. Of course, I'm assuming everybody here is familiar more or less with the Big Bang Theory or the collection of theories that go by that name, uh, and which is impersonal. Uh, that there was the specifics differ, but basically that billions and billions of years ago, some event happened and where something came out of nothing, uh, or that's our universe. In some theories, our universe came out of a bigger space for some reason, and an event that had no cause, and uh, that manifested the universe that we have currently, and eventually the universe cooled down and coalesced into things like bicycles, tables, and human beings. And that somehow consciousness arises from the interaction of matter. Of course, nobody can actually show how consciousness arises from the interaction of matter. There have been some attempts to do so, of course, to try to explain how the workings of some sense organ, usually the brain these days, uh, although previously, take your pick of what organ people thought the consciousness laid in, whether it was the heart, the liver, something else. But nowadays people talk about the brain a lot, um, and they come up with so many theories. Maybe if devotees are interested, one day I can give a talk about the various theories that people come up with and discuss them more in depth uh, about the philosophies of mind that people have. But in any case, they try to say that consciousness is caused by these various processes in the brain that uh, are non-conscious in nature, but yet manifest consciousness. There are, of course, many problems with this. Uh, of course, the major problem is that the the major, I guess, scientific problem is that the evidence does not fit what the claim is. There are uh, cases of a condition known as hydrocephalus, where people have very little or sometimes no brain matter, but are yet fully conscious. And yes, in many of these, there uh, are extreme, learning difficulties, developmental difficulties, but in many cases, people are more or less normal, or even extremely gifted, despite having no brain. So I've not actually seen a rebuttal or a explanation for how these people who have no brain can be conscious uh, I've not seen an explanation from within a uh, mainstream scientific paradigm for how this process could occur, how uh, this person could be conscious without the physical process that these scientists claim create consciousness. Uh, But in any case, the Vedic system is instead founded on consciousness at the center. Uh, that everything from the basics, from the most basic elements of material existence, all the way up to the highest levels of material existence and even beyond material existence, is all based on consciousness, on conscious living entities. Uh, and that one of these conscious living entities rules the universe. And what uh, that leads us to, I guess, another thing that is considered very wonderful or very unexpected, uh, or very different from the way that our society, our worldview is run now. And that is the fact that Swayambhuva Manu is very happy to give up his position of emperor of the entire universe and give and hand it over to his son Priyavata, who had to be convinced of the necessity of taking on that position, that rulership, uh, and is was very hesitant to accept it unless there was necessity. And this is, as Prabhupada points out, very different from the this Kali Yuga system of rulership, where everybody is jockeying, everybody is fighting each other for some exalted office. And when they're in this exalted office, they do not want to give it up. You see so many examples of this throughout history. One example that comes to mind is the Roman Emperor Nero, who is widely considered to be uh, one of the worst Roman emperors in the entire history of Rome, or one of the worst rulers, even if you extend to the republic or monarchy periods of Rome. But he was so, because in the history of the Roman Empire and many other uh, kingdoms, empires, etc., there was a precedent set where the person who was next in line for the throne would pay the bodyguards of the emperor to kill the emperor. So the emperor would pay his bodyguards extraordinate sums of money to try to prevent this from happening. But many times, somehow or other, the person that was next in line would pay the uh, bodyguards even more, and they would kill the emperor and then go work for the new guy. And then eventually it would happen again, usually, where some new person would pay the bodyguards even more, and then they'd kill him. Uh, and it would go on like this because everybody was vying for this supreme position in the empire. So Nero, he was very afraid of this. I'm not sure if this is how he took power, but I'm guessing that it probably was, uh, or he at least knew of the practice. And he was afraid that it would happen to him. So he looked at the people who were uh, next in line, in which were at that time his brothers. So he's like, well, I should probably get to them before they get to me. So he ordered every one of his brothers uh, killed. So, but then because of his paranoia, because of his wish to remain in power, he said, "Well, all my brothers are dead, but my father and mother are still alive, and they could always have more uh, children that might take the throne from me. They could always produce more brothers." So he ordered his own father and mother to be killed. And this is just an example of the status quo, or an extreme example of the status quo in Kali Yuga, that instead of ruling for the benefit of the uh, citizens, of the subjects, the rulers rule for the aggrandizement of themselves. And we see so many examples where, especially in uh, democratic countries, where people rule based on what is popular instead of what is actually good for the uh, citizens. There are so many examples where uh, that there are laws that could be passed which are would be good for the citizens, but would be unpopular at first. Uh, and because all of the politicians, especially in democratic countries, must look to the next election cycle, which is 2, 4, 6 years away, at least in the US. I'm not sure about other countries, what their lengths are. Uh, that instead of actually thinking for the long term welfare of the citizens, they think of just what will get me elected the next time. Uh, and in this way, think about what is popular instead of what is beneficial. And uh, and this is what is popular in the short term instead of in the long term. And even so, even if we had somebody that uh, was actually working for the benefit of the uh, people, they might not know how to benefit the people in the best way possible, uh, or what actions to take, whether long term or short term. One example that comes to mind is I was uh, reading last night that apparently several decades ago, or a few decades ago at least, there was a commission about messaging for long-term nuclear storage, nuclear waste storage. Because the idea is that we have these nuclear power plants, nuclear warheads, etc., and they are creating byproduct, which is radioactive, and it has to be stored in some way. So, okay, they have storage sites that meet some specifications. Only only so much microsieverts of radiation are allowed to uh, penetrate out of this every year, and they did all the analysis, etc. The only problem is letting people know what these things are and where they are. Because the issue is that the half-life of this material, the time that it remains dangerous, might extend past the collapse of our civilization or knowledge of the English language, or the existence of the English language. So how do we? So the question was, how do we have the this knowledge of that there are these certain places that are very, very dangerous to dig into or develop on. How do we have knowledge that, how do we preserve this knowledge past when people will know any of the languages that are now spoken, or even have knowledge of what nuclear power is? And uh, all sorts of there are all sorts of ridiculous proposals. One, of course, is that, or one was that, not of course, but one was that we genetically modify cats so that their fur changes color when around a certain amount of radiation. So that because cats have lived with humans for most of history, we have these cats that when we get around radiation, they start to glow or something like that, uh, so that people will know to stay away. And similarly, weird proposals. Uh, but the uh, but nobody thought to say, well, maybe we should not be producing all of this nuclear waste in the first place. This thing which will far outlive the collapse of our country, uh, or of our civilization, or maybe even of our language, and will remain dangerous so far into the future that maybe if we were responsible leaders, we will not be creating this hazard for uh, our citizens and the future citizens. Uh, but all of this is really a symptom of living in the material energy. All of us, or all of the world, is under the control of the material energy of the Supreme Lord. And in this way, it pushes us to do all sorts of things. It's described that the material energy actually steals our intelligence, so that we are put into difficult positions no matter what endeavor we take up because of this loss of intelligence. If one is trying to understand the ultimate reality, uh, one might come to the conclusion that, as I was discussing, that it is impersonal because of the theft of intelligence through the material energy. One might not be able to rule properly, etc. And in every endeavor, one might be beset with so many difficulties because of coming into contact with the material energy. This is really the root cause of all difficulties. Uh, sometimes people say, oh, if I make this adjustment, if I make that adjustment, then my difficulties will be over. And yes, these adjustments might trade certain difficulties for certain other difficulties. But the root cause of all of our difficulties is contact with the material energy. And the root solution of this root cause is Harinam Sankirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the recommended process of spiritual advancement for this age. And as it says in the purport, quoting Noatam Das Thakur, that it is imported directly from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. And in this way, we can make contact with the actual highest good, the highest level of existence, and overcome the pushings, the effects of the material energy, and actually attain the highest good and be free from all of the distresses that are brought about by this contact with Maya. So that's all that I had. Any comments, questions, corrections? We have about 10 minutes approximately before the doors open, assuming everything's on time. So,
Hare Krishna.
Haribo Prabhu.
Thank you for another nice class. If no one else has any comments or questions, yes, I should offer a few. Just thinking about Srila Prabhupada's purport. So, Syambhuva Manu, I get, I used to get really confused about the different Manus. And I think I have a better understanding now of how this works. So Syambhuva Manu is the first Manu out of in each day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus.
Hmm.
And my understanding is that in each day, the Manus, there are different personalities who assume the post of these Manus. The post has a particular name. So Syambhuva Manu, let me just refer to my notes here. Syambhuva Manu is a personality, was a personality named Yagya. He was followed by Sarochisha Manu, who was Vibhu. After him came Uttama Manu, who was Satyasena. The fourth Manu was Tamasa Manu, who was Hari. Then came Raivata Manu, who was Vaikuntha. Chakshusha Manu was Ajita. And the seventh Manu is the present Manu. We are under Vaivashvata Manu, who is Vamana. Then he will be followed by Sarvarni Manu and Dasha Sarvani Manu, Dharma Sarvani Manu, Ruja Sarvani Manu, Deva Sarvani Manu, and Indra Sarvani Manu. Anyway, Syambhuva Manu has an interesting history. He is, it was in the beginning of his reign as Manu, as I recall, that the first Varaha appeared, Lord Varaha. There is actually a minor devastation of the universe that occurs at the end of the life of each Manu. There's devastation up to the earthly planets. The higher planets remain. Um, but up to the earthly planets, there is a minor devastation. There's a more major devastation at end of each day of Brahma, and then a really serious devastation at the end of Brahma's life. Syambhuva Manu, who were his children now? He had famously, there were two sons, Uttanapad and Priyavrata. Uttanapad, of course, was the father of Dhruva. He also had some famous daughters. Trying to remember now which was which. I'm terrible with names, by the way. Syambhuva Manu had two of his daughters were Akuti and Prashuti. Prajapati Ruchi married Akuti. Daksha married Prashuti. And so those two couples were responsible for a tremendous portion of the population of the universe. Where the Prajapati is responsible for most of the population of the universe, as I understand. One of the big things to know about Syambhuva Manu is that he is the particular Manu who is responsible for the Manu Samhita, which is the law book for mankind. Srila Prabhupada makes reference to Manu Samhita frequently in his writings. This set of laws is all human beings are required to abide by these laws, and in some places it's said that this I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Jaiva Dharma mentions that this was actually spoken by Krishna himself, but somehow, evidently, it was recorded by Syambhuva Manu. And my understanding is that this is the same law that is enforced by Yamaraj. What else can we say about Syambhuva Manu? So 14 Manus. All sons of Brahma. Srila Prabhupada makes reference also early in his purport to, says from Bhagavad Gita we get information that Vaivasvata Manu was the son of the sun god, and his son Maharaj Ikshvaku ruled this planet Earth. So that he doesn't specifically mention where in Bhagavad Gita, but that I believe that's chapter 10, text 6, just two verses before the chapter Shloki of Bhagavad Gita. Let me find that quickly. It's in that verse we have, we're running out of time. Let me know if the deities appear. My eyes are diverted, but terrible time trying to navigate here. Technology.
Why don't you save it for tomorrow, Prabhu? We'll still be the same topic.
Okay, I guess we're out of time. I'm getting the hook. Oh, Prabhu's giving me the hook. All right, I'll shut up. Anyway, we consume the 10 minutes. That's my objective. It's a thing with me. I just, I can't stand dead air at the end of a class. I got to fill it up with something. I think, this should be a full hour of Krishna Katha, and then I'm happy. All right. Thanks again, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Kevalam Tisama Shinnu.